Hello, everybody. This is Victor here from Trend Following Trading for Beginners, and here's my weekly update on my sample trading portfolio coming up next. Hello, everybody. Welcome back another week. I hope you have another profitable week. Stock market, nothing much happening. It's only 4 days last week and ups and downs as usual, but the US stock market and the market in general has been up slowly. It's still up and down a bit, but the volatility has died down hell a lot. And of course, things concentrating about the coronavirus in around the world. Europe still quite bad, but America is getting much worse, especially in New York. And also we have problems with the jobless claim, which come up last week about 6 million. So over the last 3 weeks, the U.S. jobless claims come up to 15 millions or something big, something large, and it just show how bad things are, and that is just in America alone. And we haven't even talked about much about Europe and from around the world. And I'm sure it's going to be one hell of a problem for everyone. And who knows, and God knows when the lockdown's going to finish. And it's initially thinking maybe follow the Chinese model, 3 months or so. And I don't know how long will the rest be able to last that long with so many people out of job and stuff. I mean, for me, I'm lucky to be in the IT spheres, and I can work remotely, but a lot of people doing restaurants and hotels and stuff, and they're more or less cut back and not able to work at all, especially those 0 hours people. Just difficult for people around. But obviously the jobless is gonna affect everyone, and even though U.S. market is making hayways, trying to recover. For a normal person, it's kind of difficult to see any sunshine at the moment, even though we got very lovely weather here at Easter weekend, and sunshines. We all locked down. We the furthest we can go basically stay in our back gardens, and everybody else seems to be doing the same thing. And nothing much happening outside except you want to buy food or get food or medicine, those kind of thing, and it's just not good. But anyway, as far as trading is concerned, it has been, for me anyway, a reasonable week. Not as profitable when there's big, large movement. When anything tanks, that's where trend following comes in. And also trend following comes in too when the market is making headway, slowly moving back up like what we have done last 2 weeks or so. And it's slow. It's got to be much slower. But when you compare the last 3 weeks, early March to end of February time frame, those kind of volatile, mad ups and downs, it's not going to be here for a while yet. But I think at least a couple more months. But at the moment, people still think, I think from especially on those squawk box talking heads, keep on saying, is this the end of the bear market? Is this sustainable market move up? And I personally don't think so. It's just a dead cat bounce of something very severe market down move, and then now we have some sort of recovery, and who knows where it might goes. But at least as far as I'm concerned, it's definitely going to play out this month, maybe even to next month. But then when the time hits, especially I think in April, and I think start next week is the result seasons. The guidance and the results from US will be bad, probably significantly bad, and I personally feel it will be that's only just the first taste, because that's only the first 3 months when we have some sort of work activities going on. After that, I think in June, July time, when we see the second quarter of this year, when effectively around the world everybody is shut down, those kind of figures would be much, much worse. So by that time happens, I think the stock market probably will be tanking. And remember, stock market always look forward, so I don't think we can even have to wait until June, July time to see the stock market coming down. Probably a bit earlier. Maybe we only have this rally for a short time, maybe this month, early next month, and then uh, end of next month before the starting of the new season or reporting season in July kind of thing. You already tanking and quite badly so as well because people obviously know what's coming and basically start shorting the market. That will be the time for people to stand aside if they only trade for long on the long side and not the short side, but also for people who like myself don't believe this bounce. Should be. I'm using now the time now to prepare. I'm in the stock market like everybody else and trend followers, but my size is much more reduced because I don't personally believe in this bounce, and I just getting my powder dry, getting ready for the next slaughter of the stock market, and then make some more money on that way. So now really is the time to learn about how to make money on when the market is going down, that kind of thing. Looking at options and things, those kind of stuff. Trend following definitely can help you, but I think on this podcast, this particular podcast, I mean, there's nothing much to report really on the stock market front. But there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Basically, is hopefully this fit the title of this podcast, which is lies and more damn lies. Essentially, I just see first of all is the crude oil. Okay. Last week there's talks of OPEC and OPEC plus countries coming together, and now I think yesterday or today, the G20 financial ministers go to get together and talk about how we can tackle the oil price as well as the slowdown economy and stuff like that. But all this news that's coming out seems to be missing one thing. Everybody's been asked to cut. American try to be the big leader on this and tell everybody to cut and come to the table. But where is the commitment from America for the oil price cut? I mean, Donald Trump, when they asked both President Trump being asked about it, he didn't commit to anything. He just said, the oil output from America will slow down anyway because just market forces. But if you use the same argument, then, well, okay, market forces, it's happening. There's a oversupply, lack of demand of oil in the world. Then, okay, so over time, then this will go to, reflect on everybody's, all these oil producing countries' output. They will have to reduce because just not enough demand. So you can say that as well. So why the hell are we having a meeting with OPEC and OPEC plus groups to cut oil if that's the way Americans see it? As far as I'm concerned, I'm standing on the sideline watching. I personally feel there's a lot of politics going on in America and stopping the President Donald Trump to commit to anything. But this whole hoo-ha thing, as far as I'm concerned, is very much like this is how I see it. Okay, I'm from Hong Kong. We used to gangsters and gang finance, gang stuff, kind of things like that. I see it very much like there's two group of people. Just for example, selling drugs, and they have a turf war, fight each other, try to get market share, blah blah blah, and they have a big supplier, big client who really buy a lot of cocaine from these two cocaine producers or two gangs. But then suddenly this user of cocaine become a big producer. He somehow found a way to produce have his own formula and try to flood the market. When when the two gangs was fighting each other, try to get market control, they didn't know, this user's become an exporter now, a producer now, keep on flooding the market. So when the two gangs, gang A and B, let's say, fighting the hell out, this gang C, who used to be a user, now become a producer, flooding the market. Now, do you think the two gangs A and B just gonna sit down there and let now the user become a gang, let's say gang C, to continue flood the market? No. Gang A and gang B is going to probably have adult talk and try to force, user C, who now become a gang producer, cocaine, gang C now to back down or play the rules and not to flood it or fight them together, that kind of thing. So if you put that context, similar thing. I mean, this is how I look at it. into the oil market, the the rest of the world are being asked by the biggest producer of oil to cut. When the biggest producer of the oil market, oil exporter, don't do any cut, don't commit to anything. You think the other side is just going to simply take it? I mean, the politics are in one side. And some small producer of oil producing countries, they need the money, like Nigeria, some of the African countries. What are they going to do? Don't eat, don't supply, to their own, don't survival. They have the problems themselves, and I'm sure America have its own problem too. But it looks like there's a big cut, big cake that everybody have a cut of it. Now the cut is getting reduced in size, so everybody have to reduce. So why is Americans oil producers still think no, we're not gonna cut? Maybe there's talk about President Trump have no power over the oil industry in America, the sale oil, gas, oil industry. Fair enough. Then let everybody else flood the market and see how it goes. And then, if you cut, if I believe the whole understanding here is if we have a control cut around the world, then will be more control of reduction of the oil price, and therefore each country can manage better. How internal how they works. There will be some job cuts. Some of the oil industry is going to go bankrupt, and some of those coming there losing out. But instead of that, then everybody else get lose out, and then basically just let the market forces and cut everybody's price down, and have a real fight. Try to get market share in a very uncoordinated way, which produce a lot more ups and downs in the stock market. Remember when Saudi cut the oil price and then threatened to say it's going to flood the market with more oil from the reserve, it really drove the market down. The American market as well as the European market, as well as Asia, around the world. These are not the type of things that we like to see. I think that's what the G20's ministers, as well, the head of countries, try to come together and talk. But as far as I'm concerned, until whatever Donald Trump's agreed to or not, until America going to cut oil production and not flooding the market, sorry, Americans, nothing's going to happen. To the other side. Russia just going to continue, so is Saudi and other small countries. They need American subsidies or maybe another aid or help, then they probably will try to cut, but the amount of cuts they can produce is much, much reduced and not significant at all. So I'm basically sitting on the sideline and just watch how and say all these cuts. And where's Americans on this? So people just keep on talking about one thing and forgot about the biggest elephant, the pink elephant in the room. To me, that's just lies. The news seems to be reporting. I don't know how much it's been reported, but from what I see on YouTube and other channels, there's like very little to talk about how American company need to cut, how American government has to force to cut. Very little news on that. Hardly any discussion. It's always about Russia, Saudi Arabia, OPEC plus. What about the big guys? American. Come on, you want the leader? Lead by examples. Do some cuts. Why asking other people to do the cuts? That's to me just silliness. As far as I'm concerned, it's more like one rule for you, one rule for somebody else. And all this basically, as far as I'm concerned, if they from the oil money, if they cut, it helps. The stronger survive, perhaps a more orderly reduction of the oil output from America. It's much more control than a massive sudden drop of unemployment, which we already have at the moment. And if this is not control, I can tell you that from what I research on is the bond market, which I talked about before. A lot of those oil companies issue a lot of bonds, which now the oil price make them not able to even pay the interest on it. So if we don't control the way that company shuts down, get bankrupt and stuff, then you got an uncontrolled bond market collapse, and a lot of people just couldn't pay the interest. A lot of bonds go default and just go collapse, and even put more strain on the Fed and more strain on U.S. government. You might save the oil market gas market. But then you have the bond market, which is much bigger, and it's going to cause a lot more problems. And then who else is going to lend those money to those small cell gas company to continue? At the end of the day, it's the Fed, isn't it? So Feds have to make a decision as to how much they can help, or the government, and just go to snowball and then going back in itself, going to make bigger problems. So I think it's much better off with America government and the American oil industry basically down and agree to some sort of cut, and then more to work together to have more controlled way than an uncontrollable one. Because to be honest, from the sidelines, it's very much one roof America, one rule for the rest of the world. Americans say do something, but it's not committing. So if the American is not committing to any cuts, why do you think Russia should do the cuts? They both have nuclear power. They both have money. They both have oil. Okay, it come to what? Some sort of Cold War scenario with everybody else, American against everyone. I don't think that'll be any good for an American at all. And the other thing is, they can help themselves by simply this. The American government, as far as I'm concerned, cut back on the spending on military. Yeah? Cut that. And spend the money back on healthcare, education, new technology, pensions, and looking after all these, trillions of dollars that they've been borrowing to try to keep up to the economy. Just cut that. Or reduce that. That's all I'm saying. There's talks, I think there's some research look out there saying America's spend on military sector is the total sum of the next 5 countries, including China and Russia, put together. So American is spending a lot on military technologies and stuff like that. And all these wars out there is costing them loads of money. Go home. Stay at home first, reduce those kind of spend, which to me is not unnecessary, and look after your own American first. That's what I feel the American government should do, and then help itself, especially in this time when it really needs get itself sorted out. You don't have enough ventilator. You have to fight with other countries and tell other countries not to, get, what do you call it on M3 on the ventilator mask or kind of things, facial mask. Tell its own company not to send orders to other countries. Send it to America first. Those kind of stuff's just gonna hurt. What you call good neighborhood. Working together with your partners around the world. It's not good at all doing that. Might as well, spend more money internally. It costs more to produce things internally in America to supply for itself than letting the purchasing American managers go around the world and buy somewhere else. Now, everybody's to themselves at the moment. What looks like, and I feel the government, if they reduce the money spent on military, suspend it maybe a couple of years at least, just concentrate on healthcare, getting yourself back to its feet, concentrate on the economy, concentrating people, food on the table. I think that would be much more worthwhile than spending on, guns and rockets. And that's just my view anyway. And the other lies, the big lies I see is, I'm not sure if you see my Twitter, the Facebook and stuff, you see some picture of me with Brian Rose. Yes, I have taken some of his courses. One of the reasons I set up the podcast is encouraged by him and his training course, which is very helpful. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe I can contribute something on trading, and that's why I set up this podcast. But all it boils down to, I have a view I would like to share. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, and I'm allowed to share because that is freedom of speech, one of the basic human rights of the West, not in China, not in North Korea, where you're not allowed to say something that might not be to your government liking. Now we got Brian Rose here having a interview with David Aiko about conspiracy theory, and then it links 5G with coronavirus, blah blah blah. and suddenly got shut down by YouTube on that video being pulled down, and then London Live were trying to air some of that earlier video, not that particular one, but one that's earlier, and it's been now being investigated by Ofcom, the Office of Communication in UK, for broadcasting it, because basically the UK government, and so is US apparently, doesn't want people to put out misinformation. But hey, misinformation? The misinformation has been in the internet for a long time. Look at the president. Look at President Trump. The type of things that he tweets and says. Has any of that really come true? You know, how he drives the market up and down, the stock market here, up and down by his little tweets. The way that he thinks and feels. He's the president here of a country. Treating things. Changing, how people feel and stuff. Manipulating the market, in my view. Okay? Putting out misinformation. Saying, yeah, I'm very friendly with Chinese government. Yeah, very friendly. Sorry to say this, but yeah, how friendly are you to the Chinese government? To President Xi? At the same time, you just put a trade on them. Trade tariffs on them. Very friendly. You're supposed to work together with your friends, right? Not threatening them, right? Forcing them to sign, in my view, on unfair treaty. You must buy this much amount of dollars of produce from America. Otherwise, I do what? Sanction you. I don't think that's very friendly. And that is type of speech that's been going around. Why nobody stop, listening to American president and then put down his, and don't even mention his tweets. And then you have here a little independent podcaster, Brian, and basically, letting people have a voice. It's not just David have his own on his interviews, but other people too, to voice a concern. Brian said it in his interview with David. He doesn't agree with everything David say, but for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of press, he allowed him to talk and got him back to talk. And a lot of people out there want to listen to it in this day and age. And the government just coming to shut it down. I mean, the more you shut down, the more people will think there might be some truth, some amount of truth in it. And this, to me, is just lies, hypocrisy. Government tell you what to do. Then we're not living in the West. We're living in a communist country because you're not allowed to say what you mean. Everyone is allowed to express their view in the West, right? I don't agree people incite violence in the speech, but this one is just say, hey, there is possible links here. What do you think? This is my view. And David just gave it a platform. David, 2.5 hours over for this. Brian just let David talk about it for 2.5 hours or 3 hours, whatever, and a couple more interview after that. What's wrong with that? Why can't we have an adult conversation? In the US, to Google's and YouTube, remember the bills of rights, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Is that gone to the bins now? Hey, look at American government. At the start of the year, U.S. government said certain Iraqi general is evil, is bad, and I bombed him. I killed him. I sent a drone and killed those people. You think that is right? They can plot whatever, they can say something whatever, but what is evidence so far? There's no evidence except whatever the government says. So now again, whatever government said, there's no link between 5Gs and coronavirus or any deficiency to your body immune system. And now we talk about shut them down. Google is supposed to let people talk, right? Nope. So YouTube shut it down. So it's Facebook has shut down any links to discussion about coronavirus with 5G, that kind of stuff. I just find it very fascinating on this one. It's again one rule for the West, one rule for the East. And from my personal experience, this is just my personal experience. I work in IT telecom industry. Okay, I've gone through when I first got into telecom industry, is when they moved from analog signaling to digital. I remember how crap digital technology was when it first came out. All these promises, All these 3G, 4G promises. Slowly over time, it matures. It got better. But people has not been doing, in my view, enough independent research to say how much issue are there when telecom company and government allows it to pump so many energy signals, telephone signal, out there into the atmosphere, into built up areas. Anybody do that independent research, not funded by government, not funded by the telecom industry, but just by somebody else who have an interest just trying out, how energy is upsetting, how human bodies is working on. I mean, so very simple things like this, all right? From my view, doing, physics. If you look at transformer, how it works, you pass some current through one set of wire, okay, and then another set of wire is totally not connected, is insulated away from that circuitry. We're able to detect power, energy going through it. So if you have let's say, a very powerful transmission station transmitting telephone signals and stuff, okay, digital signals and stuff, and you have a body, us, walking around, do you not think that part of those energy got induced into our body, and how does that affect our body? We don't know about it. So in like a transformer case, you got one set of wires with loads of energy coming through, with electricity coming through. The other set of wire will detect current too, but in the reverse flow or something. And even though they're not connected, that's how transformer works, right? Now you move that, like I said, the transformer with the current running through one set of wire, replace that with a powerful base station, and the other unrelated, isolated wire with us human being bodies. What does that do to us internally? That's a worthwhile question. There are people talking about getting headaches because of new technologies. People hear winging noise and they cannot live in built-up area. They have to live in the countryside. They have to be away from it. And also, there was a piece of news on BBC as well, 5, maybe 10 years ago now. People basically said, how the high power voltage and current going through power cable nylons overhead cables affect people. And BBC and I remember that there was this picture of a journalist holding 2 fluorescent light tubes, okay, just in her hands, standing right underneath a nylon cable, power cable basically, and it's in the dark, and the 2 fluorescent light sort of lights up, okay, and that's how the power, 20, 30,000 volts, whatever, high power going through those cables at any one time can affect, surrounding area, including some, you can, on a fluorescent light tube, which can detect and actually show you physically, there's currents going through, and you can actually see some glows in the fluorescent tube. And do you think if you replace power station with human beings, there won't be effect on humans? That there's some there's probably some relation, correlation to it, and it's worthwhile subjects to discuss, to find out how bad it is. I'm sure I read somewhere people are getting definite headaches out of it. Just like people living in a housing area with a power base station, which supply power, electricity to the community, to the local community, and they live a bit away from it. All this humming noise, the 50, 60 hertz of the generator, of our power generation, all this humming noise is affecting people. Some people couldn't sleep. Some people get headaches. Other people claim they have cancer due to that. Okay, yeah, it's all been poo-pooed by some scientists, but how long have it been, just probability-wise? That may be something that we should look at. And now, when you go back to mobile phone technology, from my experience, over time, when we go from analog to digital, we have basically put more information into the air, okay? More digital signals, communication signal into the air. I'm just talking about telecommunication at the moment for our mobile phones. And as we grow from digital 1G to 4G and 5G now, the cell of the base station that can support a number of people within this signal range, we call the cell, is much more slowly reducing. So basically, it's trying to need to pump more energy through to different to each base station communication and to the handheld device, because there's much more data being now pushed through. Like back in 1G time, how many of you actually downloading video clips? It's never unheard of. They talk about in future, will be like a video talking, video conference go out. You're talking like what Zoom call now. What you do with your phone walking around. That's people talk about it when the first digital comes in to telecommunication, and now it's 5G, 4G. 4G, 3G also doing that. Mini 4G now is doing this. It's now like enable people to work from home, that kind of things. Even using a mobile phone, not on the internet connection on the landline, just a mobile phone technology, you can do that. And to support more of that actually going on, and we call the Internet of Things, other mobile devices, your fridge, your self-automated cars, and all sort of thing. It needs to communicate back into the communication center. All this to serve all these devices require more power, and especially on our handset, putting through 4K videos to actually support that, you need to have a stronger signal. Stronger signal means either pay a lot more money for very much more high power signal emitter to emit the signals, or you reduce the size of each of the serving base stations, so like more base station around for the same area, so that you use less power, but then because you're closer, your communication rate, your successful rate is better, and you can communicate better between different tower better. But if you put a person be trained it, with high power frequencies going through a different frequency as well, because all digital using different frequency. What does that mean to our different bodies? What does that mean to us, to our cancer rate? Okay, I'm not sure about immune system. There might be something, or releasing some of immune system generate chemicals in our body make us weak or something. I don't know. But remember, there's another thing is digital technology comes in different phases. Okay, using different frequencies. What does each different frequency have effect on us? If you go back to old studies, they talk about 2G, 1G, maybe 3G technology, which is totally different frequencies, because they can coexist. Going through our body. Anybody actually have a study? We haven't actually rolled out 5G yet, or even just study on 4G for the next 2-5 years and see what the effect on us. Then we can sort of tell what happened to 5G. It's a worthwhile thing to discuss. But then for some reason, the powers that be in UK as well as in America shuts it down. Shuts down this conversation. Why? It does make you think. Is there lies in there? I think there's bloody something in there worthwhile to discuss. People get headaches. As maybe a small group of people, sensitive people who are sensitive to electricity, electrical signals sending in the air, but still affecting people. What does that mean? Just like old days, the governments, dropping nuclear bomb, exploding nuclear bomb in the atmosphere without telling us. Years later, decades later, we know about it, and they now say, "Oh, nothing to do with it. Everything's safe." And there's talks about, maybe causing cancers around the world. Why do we suddenly have a lot more cancers and stuff? Detection maybe, but also because our living habits as well as other things, and could be contributed by freely government at the time don't really understand radiation as much as now. Creating bombs and letting off bombs or testing in the atmosphere that is far away from us, but the effect is affecting us slowly, coming out generations later. Those kind of things. With those kind of stuff have been suppressed before, and then years later come out with, medical, scientists as well as historian checking things, and other technology guys checking through things and find that that's, it will have some effect. At the time when the government tell you, no, there's nothing between it. Do you really trust our own government that way? I mean, can we not even discuss about this? So I'm definitely supporting Brian on this, and I think it's freedom of speech, especially coming out of America. YouTube and Google are American company. What the hell is the Bill of Rights gone? Government says something. Yeah, if you continue this way, when government require Apple, to break the handset of some people termed to be terrorists, or have already proven terrorists. Why the hell Apple, fighting American government not to release the data, not to help them to crack the code and let people, the American government to get to know what these terrorists are talking within themselves. They're talking about so much human right then, right to privacy. What about this? Freedom of speech is bills of right. That also one thing applies. Okay, that thing not right. Simply because we got a disease running around at the moment that make people questions. I mean, to federal minimum, I would expect, the minimum choose for me is electricity going around sending out, especially the 5G thing, have effect on human bodies. The effect is unknown at the moment. That's definitely worth, doing more study about. And if what David said is correct, why the hell there's more 5G tower being set up while we are under lockdown? Is this the truth, or is it just talking BS? Wouldn't it be worthwhile just to find out and discuss? If this is true, it's worthwhile to ask, why the hell is 5G coming out still? Is it really essential? You have 3G or 4G running at the moment. You can communicate with people. You have internet going around, cables. So what's all these 5Gs means, put up for? All these 5Gs towers and masks. This is not China. Not the Chinese government say, I just do this. This is the West. This is UK. What the hell is going on? It's worthwhile to talk. And this is what really annoys me this week. For me, it's a big thing for me. It's nothing to do about trading. And this is, to me, is one big thing. And of course, all this stuff probably have paybacks later on when the virus coming, slow down everybody. There's some sort of antidote or some way to avoid it or getting better out of it. And that will be finger pointing, paybacks. Chinese is doing this. And, how it affect everybody else. And going to China now asking for money back for all this devastation for the spread of virus. If that happens, I would say what happened to Spanish flu, even though a lot of theories out there say it's not even Spanish, it's not even Europeans, it's Americans. Did anybody else in Europe going or around the world go and American asking for a big paycheck for all these people that's been killed during the Spanish flu pandemic? Who knows? But then there will be finger pointing, and there will be some sort of fight between countries, between companies. And all those little things happening. This is what you call capitalism. Really, called having a virus issue. This virus issue expose some stuff that I think you and I are not talk about or listen to or heard anything much about. Each country, even like software development, we have fallback plan. What happens if something doesn't work? We have to mitigate those situations. For the supply chain, if you concentrate in one country, keep on, asking China to produce things for you because it's cheaper and because they got a know-how now, and not having a backup, say, go to Vietnam or Malaysia, somewhere else to produce similar stuff, less quantity, but, as a backup, so it can something that ramp up. This not rocket science, but people just stop thinking about, companies stop thinking about it because it's cheaper, easier to do it with China. And then the other thing is probabilities. How probable would that happen? A lot of people just, forget about probabilities. And this is exactly about trend following. People forget those black swan, once a lifetime event happens. They think it's only once a lifetime. And it happens later on, it shows up. Now it happens more often than you think, you realize. And that just knocked the success. And that's exactly what happened with the virus. And the West is illy prepared, even though China and Asia have it since December, January. Nobody jump up and down and start locking down things or doing massive tests on its people until early March, end of February, when Italy start to detect a lot more cases than before. Americans still walking around, even though it knows it can spread by traveling. And there's talks that in America had been told about this Chinese virus things since December, January, when it first happened. It must be. I mean, come on, we have U.S. one of the biggest intelligence, right, in the world. Not just talking about money and other things or terrorist group and stuff. They must know about this pandemic coming in, this possible virus spreading around, and share with the Five Eyes. Yeah, other countries, UK, Canada, blah blah blah, France and things like that, or Germany. Or did they not even look at those? It raises questions on those. And this finger pointing is gonna happen. Who knows what's gonna happen next? And this is to me just biggest things for me for the past week. Money wise, yes, we're making some progress, but I don't believe this bounce at the moment. And then this sudden shutdown of YouTube video from Brian, my good friend, my good mentor. What the hell's going on? I support him totally. And I think, especially for Americans, they should stick their hands and say, look, if YouTube's doing that, what can they just turn around and say, I shut down your channel because it doesn't agree to what the American government says or what I think, even though you have every right to speech, to discuss. That is that quite a hollow kind of bills of rights, kind of defending the bills of rights, I mean, I thought this is supposed to be your freedom of speech, right? So this to me is a big thing. But I think the other thing I think you need to, for this week somehow it just jumped onto me is there's a show called The American President, and the president is played by Michael Douglas, and I think that the name of the character is Andrew Shepard, and the speech at the end of the show, and is from the American President, and I'm going to include that link in the descriptions here in this podcast on YouTube, and I think it's quite fascinating. And about freedom of speech, freedom of expressions, and the kind of stuff. And it's quite, it rings a bells to me. And it's like we lost that. Somehow suddenly we're just saying, government doesn't want people spread disinformation, or even is it really disinformation? It's two adults having a conversation, having a discussion, an open discussion, and shared around the world, and say, what if? I totally disagree. Anybody go and burn down 3G, 5G, 4G masks. I don't condone violence. I don't believe David O'Brien condoned violence. Not mentioned in any case. In the interview, they cannot stop people doing what they want, right? We are all responsible for our own action. But we are allowed to sit down and discuss, are we not? Or we're not even allowed to discuss. So this is what I call, lies, and damn lies. There's a lot of things going on this week, and it just got me going a bit. Next, basically, is my weekly update on my portfolio, and I'll speak to you next. Okay, first off the bat, Apple. Short term now is changed to buy. Medium term is neutral. Long term also changed to neutral now. Next is Amazon. Short term is a buy. Medium term is neutral. Long term now changed from neutral to buy. Australian dollar against US dollars. Short term is a buy. Medium term changed to neutral. Long term is a sell. Brent crude. Short term is a buy. Medium term is a sell, long term is a sell. Crude oil, short term is a buy, medium term is a sell, long term is a sell. DAX, short term is a buy, medium term is changed to neutral now, and long term is still a sell. Same thing for Dow Jones. So short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. FTSE 100 UK, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. Gold, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. Nasdaq, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, and long term now also neutral. Nikkei 225, that's Japanese index. Short term is changed to buy from sell last week. Medium term and short term is both sell. Silver, short term is a buy, medium and long term is a sell. USD against the Chinese yuan, short term, medium term, and long term is a buy. That basically means the yuan is weakening against the US dollars. Next is US dollars, again Japanese yen. Short term is a sell, medium term is neutral, long term is neutral. British pounds against Japanese yen. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. After that is British pounds against US dollars. Short term is a buy, medium term is a sell, long term is still a sell. Bitcoin, not much change at all from last week. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is still sell. So for Bitcoin, short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is still a sell. TLT, the iShare index, tracking the ETF on the bonds. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. So from this week update, basically the index, major indices around the world seems to have bounced back. And on the total trading system 2 is all changed to neutral now. Basically this week, all the stop losses got hit. I think all of them got make money. That's just the way it is when if you trade using the total system 2 system and you trade the same market more or less, all these indices, it seems to have a tendency to change as well. But basically just showing around the world that the pumping of extra money by the central banks from around the world, from different countries, seems to be doing a trick. However, that is just, to me anyway, it just really a deja vu for me. A replay of what happened in 2008 when around the world, especially America, pumped loads of money into the financial system. It just go to say that that's the same hint shit, cheat sheet, whatever you call them, and it's the same process happening. I remember last time 2008 when this all happened, I was I think I said this before, I was in Bulgaria doing short-term contracts for a telecom company, and I was watching financial news on the cable, and I remember first of all it is a fluctuation of the forex market, and then you have massive stimulants. We don't know why. Bankers, the banks around the world, the regulators put loads of money into the financial system. And then we have violent moves of share prices up and down. And then slowly, a couple of years later, we have some explanation. Most of it's got into books and some films, the big shots. And basically, those are the things that it come out. So to me anyway, this really is deja vu. This short-term rebound of the market last 2 weeks or so, probably still got some legs, but we are more or less around, in my point of view, it's about possibly about right now, because everybody's talking about, the bear market is finished, we're coming back to bull market or something, and possibly as this month go forward, there's more people talk about it. And one thing about the bear market is we have significant rebounds, 20 plus, 15 plus, 20% plus, maybe 25% rebound after initial drop lows of 20, 30%. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, when everybody thought everything good, there's a big drop and out of the blue. And then people just got really scared this time. Because last time it's a panic, and then there's a rebound, and suddenly something else happened, and then knocked the confidence, which already very weak, and then the confidence get knocked, and the share price, gone down. So for me anyway, minimum for me put a technical analysis hat on. Any bottoms, as far as I'm concerned, need to be retested. And we haven't been retested yet. We more or less have a feature rebound at the moment. I mean, if this rebound is true, it is definitely stay, then there's some sort of market going lower from here, from where it is now. But hopefully not breaking what the low is about 3 weeks ago. So, but as far as trend following concerned, do I care? I don't. I just basically follow the trend. And then just like the Dow Jones and DAX and FTSE and stuff, I made money out of it, but I could make a lot more if I have sold earlier. But obviously, I do not know when the bottom is. So I just let the market come back, and now the market come back, and took quite a significant chunk of profit away. But like one of the great quotes about trend following is, we never get in the bottom, we never get in the top. We always hit the middle bit of the trade, out of the market. And that's how we live. Sometimes this middle bit could be weeks, months, maybe days. Sometimes could be months. And that's where the big trends are, where you take lots of money from the market. So as far as I'm concerned, short term, the market is rebounding and making quite a bit of headway, so which is good. We just have to wait and see what happens next. So just watch this month. I think this rebound probably got some legs, but slowly and surely we'll probably see rebound come to a hobby later on, especially when people start to realize how much damage this lockdown and temporary stop of the general economy around the world, especially in Western countries. What does that mean to the demand side? Asia, China is coming back up now, but how fast can they ramp up? That's a question. Second is how everybody's locked down more or less in the West. When is the demand coming back, and when people come out from the lockdown, will they still have a job to go to? That's a big question. And will people just go and buy things? I mean, one thing for me personally, I'm watching now from this sample portfolio, I'm really watching is Apple at the moment. Simply because Apple, as far as I'm concerned, is a great product, but it's a very high-end product, as well as a status symbol. And when you're not making money, would you actually spend £1,500, £2,000 through a contract for a 24 months phone contract and pay for a high-end phone? And Apple has been planning for a cheaper version of its iPhone coming out to serve India and China market, but with the coronavirus and the lockdown, that things have been pushed back. So as far as I'm concerned, Apple may be coming back up as a trend following thing, but I think there is a good fundamental argument that it won't last. So I'm a trend following heart, but I also like to use and merge fundamentals into it, because when both are aligned, the push of the trend really is a lot stronger, and those are the best trend to go for. And basically, we just have to wait and see. But I'm definitely watching Apple at the moment. I still got some legs trying to rebound, but like I said before, Apple was more or less leading the Dow Jones, continued moving up. Weeks ago when I first started all this updates podcasts, Apple's always up, so it's Dow Jones up and up and up. And Apple seems to be leading the Dow Jones, when it sort of plateau, level off. And I think it's similar things now. Apple will show the way as well as the Dow Jones itself. So I think Apple is definitely something to watch out for. So we just have to wait and see. Just my personal skepticism. I just don't feel people without a job have enough money on the side to buy high-end, expensive phones. Similar thing for Gucci bags and expensive Burberry bags and stuff from UK. China, the Chinese is coming back to work. Would they just go and buying things right away? Probably take some time, and the spend probably much less, because they all worry about the jobs at the moment. So we see how it goes. And trend following basically is just my bread and butter, and this one just I always marry the fundamental into it. And I personally feel the second half this year we'll see a lot more significant statistics coming out, with company reports saying what type of problems that they have for first 6 months of the year, and then things will get settled down a bit. So I'm looking at some sort of recovery at the end of the year. But as a trend follower, I don't care. As this trend, I just go to trade. But I definitely getting myself ready for next big downturn, and it might take a week, maybe take a month, maybe a couple of months to happen. But I'm watching on the sideline, and we just see how it goes. Okay, so I hope you like this podcast, and I will speak to you next week. Bye for now.